What a series, man. That's what Test cricket's all about. 66-7, really. They lost 7 wickets.
Mad.
But what they were like 301 for
Yeah,
3 or something.
yeah. The game had to become more entertaining. And I think England and Ben Stokes, their brand, as well as just their approach, made for really entertaining games.
I feel like that's the beauty of Test cricket.
Hello and welcome back to the Brown Playbook. What a test series we've just seen between India and England. Mate, how much did you catch of it and what did you think?
Oh, bro, what a series, man. That's what Test cricket's all about, to be fair. Especially the last time, man. 25 days. Coming to that morning, last hour to play. It was crazy, man. Siraj, and honestly, the most satisfying feeling. Obviously, Siraj knocking the
Yeah.
stumps over. Like, stumps go flying. Oh, just absolute scenes. He does the old two when he bowls someone as well. Absolute scenes. Honestly, I loved it, man. Loved it. That's exactly what Test cricket's about. And you can feel the how much the players care about it. Like, obviously, the passion, the intensity, but they even come out in interviews and just say directly, like, oh, this is the best form of the game. We absolutely love playing. It's sick, man.
I
What
love
did you
seeing that.
think?
I love seeing that they're all back in test cricket so much because, like, that was something I was worried about, like, a few years ago because of the way, like, cricket was heading. But the fact that the most successful players, even though their biggest paychecks and stuff are in series, went to 5 days for every single test match was like the best advert for it. But yeah, let's like start at the end. Siraj getting that final wicket, India coming into that last day with the opposition only needing what 30, 35, 36 odd to win, and you need 4 wickets. So they're definitely in the driving seat, even though it would have been a record at the Oval by over 100 runs for a last day chase. So it seemed crazy unlikely that England would get near it, but they still managed to like get in a commanding position as Baswell often does. And the fact that you pull it back, like, it's just the best way to end it. It's just encapsulated the whole series, just back and forth.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Like, as you said, it was 66-7, really. They lost 7 wickets.
Mad.
But what they were like 301 for
Yeah,
3 or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
And then obviously they didn't chase it down due to obviously Siraj, shout out Krishna as well. But I don't know. Let's just start with obviously Test cricket and the spectacle and just the stories. Like, even just the stories of the last test of obviously the way Siraj gets bowled at Lords is crazy, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And then obviously he drops a catch, obviously, for Brook when he's on 19,
yeah.
goes for 6. And then there he comes back, which was, yeah, just Collie when they were doing nothing from that afternoon to tea session. Just looked like Brook and Root are just, they basically, the Indian bowlers had no answer for them.
Yeah, man.
And then all of a sudden you just turn it around. I feel like obviously that's the beauty of Test cricket is that within a day, it's literally session to session it can swing. And you just appreciate it a lot more when it was like after 25 days, like it's not 90 minutes, it's not 5 days.
No.
It still comes down to that. Like that's crazy. How can you be competing for that many days and still it comes
Only
down?
in
Like
cricket,
that's
mate.
what I just
Only
love
in
about it.
cricket. That's what we love.
Trust me, trust me.
Yeah,
But you chat me through. Yeah, because obviously all the talk about it at the very start was no Rohit Sharma, no Virat
yeah,
Kohli.
yeah.
Bumrah's only playing a couple. He has to pick and choose due to his workload. So now that the test is done, yeah, give me your take on it bit by bit, bro.
Yeah. So, like, obviously, we've spoken about like the highlights and like the big finish at the end, but let's go back to before the series started. The talk was around. Let's go on the India side first. Virat and Rohit have retired. Shubman Gill's been given the captaincy, and a lot of people thought it was like premature. Like a lot of people thinking he's not done enough to prove it, and their point was like, cricket fans and cricket analysts love stats, so they're looking at it like, oh, he's averaging 37 in Test match cricket, he's 25. That's not the profile for the player that kind of leads the nation. Like, potentially he could still be fighting for his place. That's the sort of narrative,
Yeah.
which seems crazy, now that we know what's happened in this series. But that was the narrative on India's side, as well as obviously Bumrah. How many games is he going to play? Is this the series where they, go all out with him, or do they, save him for something else? Asia Cups come in, like, technically an ICC trophy. I don't think that would ever be prioritized over an India-England test series, but at the same time, you still can't have him, be completely off it, So that's the narrative
Yeah.
around them. And around England, it's all Bazball. So whatever happens, they're always going to attack. And that's created a lot of, but I think that it's the reason that Test cricket is as good as it is because the game had to become more entertaining to compete with the shorter forms. And I think England and Ben Stokes, their brand, as well as just their approach, made for really, really entertaining games in England, which haven't always been the case. Sometimes they've been very one-sided. But yeah, so that was going into it. And then, did you catch much of the first test? And like the basically England chasing a ridiculous total the way they looked like they were going to in the fifth one up in Headingley. Did you catch much of that?
Yeah, bro. Of course, man. Of course. Like that was I think the first test match really set the
Yeah,
precedent of how it was going to go on.
yeah,
To be
yeah, yeah,
honest, like big total, like yeah, all of a sudden, that's always good, right? When I obviously you love a collapse here and there, like to really shake up the series, but like for the first couple of days, putting on a big score always kind of lightens the series up
yeah,
because you know the opposition, no matter who they were, knows that okay, they've got a task on their hands, and that then brings in like the grit, the resilience, the storyline,
yeah, yeah.
and I think that's what really makes for it, bro.
Yeah, for sure. And like what happened in the first test basically played out for the rest of the series. So India's won more sessions in the whole series. If you want to look at it, that's by session, right? But
Yeah, 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 yeah.
it didn't matter because when England claw it back, they sort of go over and above. So in the end, 2-2 was a really fair result. And it looked like India putting up like over 350 in that first test, that they were going to just run away with it. But the fact that like one of my new favorite players now, Ben Duckett, he's mad underrated, particularly by Indians. I mean, I've been speaking to a lot of friends about him that they just seem to think like, oh, I don't know why. I think Indians just have a natural tendency to not rate English players, but he is unbelievable. Ben Duckett, yeah, like he's like after Kohli's retirement, he's the best cross format player in my opinion in the world. So like he's just mad consistent, aggressive. You know, if you let him stay for 10 overs, like he's put up an ODI score along with Crawley if you let him like survive. And obviously, like I think the team for England's just set up so well now because obviously he got his 140, but even after he got out, they just didn't stop, right? And when they're chasing 350 on the last day, he gets 140 opening up, batsman number one. And then even when he gets out, they
Yeah,
just don't slow down and they end up chasing with so much time to spare, which basically led the next test match to, India already on the back foot. They're like, if they lose again, it's the difference between a tight test match, even though they've played really well, and a series that they've just lost within 10 days. So that could have easily happened at
yeah,
Edgbaston. But obviously, that's where that was the most sort of convincing performance that India had, where Shubman Gill turns up with a 270. And here's a stat for you,
yeah.
Sharps, yeah. His average before that, and I don't even think many people have covered this. This might be like a little scoop that we're opening up. His average before that, right? This is just me on Wikipedia, was 37. After that one innings, 270 not out. His average went from 37 to 43. So immediately,
Yeah,
all those people that were like, "Oh, his average is too low," one innings turned his whole like sort of whole outlook around. And that being like the case while he just got the captaincy, so he's dealing with his individual pressures, whilst also obviously
yeah.
taking
No, for
management.
sure, bro.
What a performance that was! Like I was so happy to see it. But yeah,
Well, my first point to kind of connect your 2 points from earlier on was obviously the Brown and Test cricket with an ODI score.
yeah,
And then obviously you've got Zach Crawley and Ben Duckett opening up. So hard to bowl to, left hand, right hand, one so tall, one so short.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
one drives on the up. Like it's just so hard to bowl to. And then obviously they're scoring at like an ODI rate. So when India didn't put up the best score or even a half decent score, they got off to a flyer, go for like 100 for
yeah,
none or
yeah,
100 for a couple. And then all of a sudden it looks techie from the Indian side. So that's good. But yeah, with Shubman, yeah, well, the chat I kept hearing, I don't know about you, was a lot to do with more condition wise. Like he scores in Asia, but he can't score outside Asia, or he hasn't done a big
yeah, yeah.
total outside Asia, I should say. But then, yeah, Edgbaston, he just made it his, like, well, obviously top run scorer, 700 in the series,
Madness, bro.
averaged what, around 70,
Yeah, yeah,
200, or I think just, yeah, the next person was Joe Root, who scored, I think, 540 runs on in the
yeah,
series.
yeah.
So cleared him by nearly 200. So that's a convincing top run scorer. And yeah, he kept alluding to it, right? To be the,
Yeah,
I want
yeah.
to basically with my bat, that's where my value is. That's how I had runs. And let's actually, that's natural progression. Let's talk about his captaincy during the series now. So there's a lot of chat before. What did you make of it?
To be honest,
Decision
I thought it
making,
was like
cut corners,
he's been thrown
under
into the deep
pressure.
end, this being his first, by the way. Like, I mean,
For sure,
if
bro. England away.
ideally, what would have, in an ideal world, I think what would have probably happened is, someone who, the test captain stayed the test captain before for this big series, and then you bring in a new test captain for what they've got ahead. Like, I think they've got West Indies, a couple tests with them, then South Africa, and obviously they're the champions, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, it's at home. So it's a softer landing than away at England, which
Yeah.
is always very like hard fought, particularly with the way that these guys play. So I think the commentators, and I watched most of the days, to be honest, they were quite fair. So he made like the odd mistakes, but the first test, right, very little to do with him. He put on the bowlers produced it genuinely, and this isn't what's talked about most of the time. The catchers lost India that game. They dropped 5 catches, and that
Yeah.
was it. Like, if you drop that many, at that level, and especially against this team, you're done. The same thing didn't
Yeah, you
happen in the
can't
second
miss that
test.
many opportunities.
Exactly. I think they did. I remember getting really pissed off at Joswell because he dropped like 4 catches in the first 2 matches, and I was like,
Hey, don't chat about my boy.
nah. And then he was
Don't chat about
laughing.
my
Then he
boy.
was laughing, and
Hey,
I
no,
was
no,
like,
no,
bro,
step
come on,
back.
like. But yeah, so I don't think he made too many mistakes in the first one. Then the second one also. I think the third one was when the first major thing that he got wrong was like spotted, where he basically didn't bring on Washington Sundar soon enough, and as soon as he
Yeah.
did, he had an immediate impact. So it's almost like it was worth trying that before in case you like end up going for loads and loads of runs. But again, hindsight's 2020. So for how back and forth
Exactly.
this series was, I think overall his test captaincy like start has been great. He led the team to 2 victories, didn't lose the series. Of course, some might say it's a missed opportunity because if they've won 2 games and they've lost one and they've lost the 2 because of drop catches and bottling a 4th innings total, which we can go on to with Lords,
Yeah.
then people are saying it's a bit of a missed opportunity. But I don't think that comes down to his captaincy, if I'm being honest. So I think that he smashed it.
But
Yeah,
ebbs and flows, bro, right? Because as you say, there's multiple missed opportunities, right?
exactly,
So
exactly.
so obviously fourth test at fourth day at Lords, obviously we bowl 190 total. I
Yeah,
don't know what we're doing in that evening session. Going back 4 wickets lost
yeah.
already. Going into the last, I don't know who we think we are. But then obviously England, what are they doing literally 2 days ago, 66 for
Exactly,
7. So
exactly.
you both teams have their things where it's kind of you're gonna have one opportunity. If you don't take it, you better take the next one because the other team will.
Yeah.
So you can't really
So I think the
miss
only
too many
thing,
opportunities.
yeah, I think the only thing you can criticize about like this series was like the lack, like they weren't, neither team was super clinical because of course they went toe to toe and they were really competitive in each other's faces. And anytime one of the teams looked like they were going under, they always came back throughout the entire series. But I will say that like I think both teams will probably be going into review thinking like there were matches for both. Well, from their individual perspectives, they'll both be thinking there were matches that we could have easily won there. So I think maybe because it's still relatively new, obviously it's a very new and young side, which Shubman Gill specifically said that he doesn't want to be known as. He was like, I don't want to be known as a young side, which I was like, fair.
Yeah.
But I think it's a really good start. And from an England perspective, I think they'll be slightly disappointed, obviously. Like, India have swindled a draw, it looks like, on the last day. But again, completely fair result based on the performances throughout the 25 days. And I think everyone's in agreement about that. But yeah,
I do agree. But also, bro, I just want to bring up like once again going to the Brown and Test cricket. Look at Chris Woakes, man.
oh,
Practicing
mate.
bang
And
left-handed,
punt,
bro.
of course.
Rishabh Pant,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly, bro. It's crazy, bro. Like, shout out Atkinson. Didn't even let him play a ball, which is obviously
Yeah, yeah,
great of
yeah.
him.
And he hit
Getting
that
off ball,
6,
getting
by the
like
way. Did you
making
see
sure he
that?
gets off strike.
He needed 17 and he got some one knee against, I think it was it? I think it was Siraj. It was either Siraj or Krishna, obviously, but I'm pretty sure it was Siraj. And fucking hits it over long on. Obviously, Akashdeep drops, like,
Yeah.
he pushes it on, but again, it wasn't really his fault. It looked like if he caught it, it would have gone over the boundary anyway. So
Yeah.
it was a bit of an iffy one, but yeah, what like Gus Atkinson,
No, it's
really
crazy,
impressive,
man.
right? Because I mean, his performance is not getting talked about
Yeah.
now for the last test because he obviously took a fifer in the first innings and showed a lot of fight thereafter as well. But yeah, like now the heroics
Bro,
with Test cricket
even
this
little
series.
things
Go on.
like even little things like did you see Josh Tongues a couple of wides?
Yeah,
Like they were just going for
yeah,
boundaries, but then
yeah,
he ended up getting a
yeah,
fiver
yeah, yeah.
after it. So I just rate little things like that, and then obviously Akash, I don't know, was it his test debut?
No, no, bro.
I
He's
think
been about.
no,
I think it's his
because I
first
know he's always
major.
been around the squad.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
major.
think it's
Because
his
I know
first
he's always been
major
around the
series where he's
squad.
like broken through now because it was always between
Yeah, because
like Prasid, him, a couple others, but yeah, like he's definitely the
yeah,
third
because he
one now.
stepped in it. He stepped in and out, and I know he's travelled before. But bro, even him, for example, what did he get? 6 or something? 6 wickets, maybe when he came in for Bumrah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that
yeah.
second time, yeah, and that's another great story as well. With obviously what's going on in his personal life, he obviously said in a post-match interview about his sister having
Oh,
cancer and
I
all,
didn't know that. I haven't
which
seen
is
that.
crazy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, well, obviously I've dug deep on him as well. I know that he's like, yeah, he's had a mad life. Like his brother and dad died within like 6 months
Oh,
of each other
wow.
when he was like 18. So for him, I was just mad happy because when you delve into where these guys come from, it's crazy. But then yeah, let's talk about more of the bowling. Well, actually, let's talk about the all rounders,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah, yeah.
Ravindra Jadeja cut so consistent, man.
Yeah,
So
well,
consistent, bro.
with the bat, because with the ball, he's
Yeah,
had a,
with the bat,
but
yeah.
that's where it comes in, right? Like, so if we talk about the all rounders, before I go on to the point I was going to make about Jadeja with Stokes, right? Going into the series, there was again talk of, oh, how much is he able to bowl? He's bowled more in this Test series, I think, than he ever has. So he really stepped on. That's in 4 matches that he played. So, and I think he was their leading wicket taker as well. So amazing. And even though he didn't play as well with the bat, the fact that he literally led the attack for this series, despite technically being the fourth or fifth bowler, is mad. And Jadeja is the opposite, where normally he gets a lot more wickets. Like he did not have a good time with the ball in this series at all. I think he averaged over
Yeah,
100, which was not great. But again, I think he was he India's second top scorer? I mean, hundreds, fifties. What a series! I
Oh
think he got
god, I
over
don't know. I
500
think he was in
runs,
the
and I think he was.
only.
Otherwise, unless
God, yeah, I
Jaiswal
don't know.
snuck
I
in
only
there,
know.
he's definitely top three, and his contributions were literally defining because obviously he drew that fourth test, which we've not touched on yet, with
Yeah,
Washington, who again he's an all-rounder, like who I think performed the best all round with ball and bat, because the one match where the ball offered a bit with 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 the pitches, he's not a big turner of the ball, but he beats people in the air, and he did that with the best. I mean, I think he even got Root out
yeah,
after he started hitting centuries. I think in the last three, Root hit 3 centuries. So the fact that like
yeah.
he's
It's
got him out
right.
when he's been fighting to get into the squad for a long time was just really impressive. And him with the bat was like seriously brave. I mean, I know Woakes and Punt were like the poster boys for bravery, but in terms of handling the situation, I don't think anyone did that as well as Washington, to be honest, this series.
Yeah.
Arguably
Well, I think
Jadeja,
obviously
but yeah.
the thing is you don't deep that. Bro. It's a great point to make because then all the headlines the next day obviously talk about the old. uh, Should we call it a day and shake hands? And then
Oh
obviously
yeah. What did you
they won
make
the
of that?
100.
Actually,
So
we
that
should
get
talk about that
overshadowed.
next.
Oh, bro, I just feel it's like one of them ones. People may find me wrong here because I've seen loads of commentary on like socials and people are very much for and against it. I just feel like I don't know, if there's an opportunity to get the hundreds. I understand you probably deserve it for the knock and bravery you've played, but obviously if it's not going to make a difference to the result. I kind of get both points of view, but I think if you're India and they've had a knock, I do think you want to keep them out there because they deserve their 100,
Yeah.
right? So I think if England were in that position, they probably would have. But I
I
don't know.
think
That's what
that
I think.
on the field, both teams did what the individual teams would do out of a competitive mindset.
Exactly. That's what
Yeah,
I think.
but in the
Yeah.
grand scheme of things, if you take a step back and look at like basically who was right in the situation, I don't think Stokes came out looking very good in that. And to be honest, it's something that no one's ever going to
Yeah.
address. And obviously his boys are going to back his decision, and we completely get all of that, right? But there is no way that someone who's trying to break into the squad, who's battled against a bowling attack that's done really well all day, doesn't deserve to get his first Test match 100. There's just no two ways about it. And in fact,
Yeah, that's why. Yeah,
I don't remember who particularly it was, but it was a former Aussie player I saw an interview. I think it was it Border. I don't remember, but one of them said there was a very similar situation with where Viv was captaining and they were playing against England. Viv Richards, obviously, for West Indies. And there was exactly the same situation. I think it was him batting, rather. Alan Border batting, and he survived the whole day. And Viv literally went up to him and said, "Get your 100, bro, and let's get out of here." And it ended up being like, you've earned it. We'll give it to you, and then let's go. Like, we'll call it a draw. If we're calling it a draw, we might as well get what we both want out of it. And 100 is important. I don't get it's not going to change the result. The result's not always what matters. Cricket is both an individual and a team sport because everyone's individual legacy gets looked at a lot more than in other sports because a lot of the time you are out there on your own. So I think I was fully with India on that one. And I think even this one even split English commentators. Like Michael Vaughan on Stick to Cricket was all with India on this one, which made it interesting. I think they wanted, it sold a few more papers. It's not that deep in the grand scheme of things. But, if we're going to talk about it, I do. That is where I stand.
Yeah. Nah, so let's, bro, I completely agree with you. Let's move on to, so who do you think from the future of both sides?
Yeah.
So obviously England with the Ashes and India with West Indies and South Africa that you were talking about. Who do you think stays in the side? Yeah, let's just run through the side and see who do you think cemented their place and who you think is compared with 50-50.
Well, I think Jaiswal and KL Rahul, if we're starting on India, then those two are definite openers. I don't see anyone like getting in unless they're being given a chance, whenever they play England or Australia or any of like the competitive team outside of India, they're going to stick to them. I'm pretty sure. 3 is up there, right? Because Karan Nair tried to get in. Did you see the tweet? He was like, "Cricket, please give me one more chance." He tweeted that before the squads of this went out, and he got given one more chance. And
I didn't know about the tweet. I know that he came to England, did first class cricket, and then game for a minute.
And he
had a mixed series.
He did. A lot of starts. A lot of starts, right? Yeah. The only thing is, like, I think technically he's really good. And again, I think if he went to Australia, he would have been better. And obviously at home, he would have been better than he was in England. I think England specifically is where he would have struggled the most from what I've seen of him. But yeah, like, I don't think he solidified it down. He might be in the mix, but to be honest, I don't know. I think the 3 spot is like just vacant. Shubman Gill obviously at 4.
And even Simon, bless him though. Bless him. I felt so bad for
he performed better than Karan.
Got duck and he just got cut.
He got 250s though. He got 250s. He got 250s that set the foundation a lot better than Karan. I think Karan obviously, everyone who contributed to the 2-all. And Karan's contribution in the last test, obviously where he got the 50, was the highest scorer in our first innings. Obviously a huge contribution, but unfortunately you've got to compare. And as an overall series, I think Sai gives more potential because he's younger and he had a slightly better outcome per game than Karan, I think. So, he's got himself in and around. But who else? You've got Pujara. He's not done. Like Pujara is. So he was on the field on the last day after the game was done, just in and around the squad. I don't know what the story is. I don't know if it's an injury, but he's performed well in Australia twice now. So he's not going anywhere. Gill at 4, obviously. Rishabh at 5. I think Washington and Jadeja are like, they'll be in and around unless they want to drop one for like an extra pacer, but I think that's unlikely. So that takes us to 7.
Maybe Shardul gets favored once in a while.
Maybe, but I think that's going to be more unlikely now, to be honest, especially after the way Washington batted. I mean, I think it's going to be rare that they're going to need Shardul as the 4th or 5th option in pace.
4th seamer, I do agree.
Then who else? Obviously, Bumrah when he's available, Shami, Akashdeep. I think he ends up being the 3rd one, at least for a couple of series. They'll definitely give him a go. And they're playing against slightly weaker opposition next time. So, unless Bumrah clears them up too early, I think Akashdeep will do pretty well against them.
Yeah, well, we haven't even mentioned, bro, that obviously they didn't win any series with Bumrah. Now that ain't Bumrah's fault.
Of
Every
course
time
not.
he
Of
plays,
course not.
he has an
And
impact.
yeah,
But bro, it's nice to. It kind of adds to the team's confidence. I feel like.
of
Because
course,
like
yeah,
they won in Australia without Kohli, Siraj. They know they can step up as the main man. It's great for Shubman Gill to be like, well, if Bumrah's not on the pitch, like I just have to rely on these two paces,
yeah,
Krishna and Siraj, and obviously Akash or a spinner, but instead of just every time something's going wrong, giving it to Bumrah, which obviously is an
yeah,
absolute luxury because he can make an impact whenever. It's good for the rest of the team to be like, now we can still perform. So
yeah.
I think all in all, it's great.
That's a
But no,
thing.
and also I want to
Oh,
shout
go on.
out
Yeah, yeah.
Krishna, bro. Sorry,
Of
quickly,
course, yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
bro, he was not taking many wickets. And bless him. Even for that, that was at the fourth test he didn't play. One of the
Yeah, yeah.
tests,
I'm pretty sure he
obviously,
didn't play
where
the
Bumrah
fourth.
came back. But you know what? Big him up, man. He came back and he did take wickets
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, he
in the
was
final test,
major
and
part
that's
of
not
that end.
easy,
Yeah,
bro. Because when a lot of people are taking wickets, and you're kind of the one bowler that kind of gets singled out that hasn't really taken many wickets.
yeah,
It's good mental resilience to come back and obviously perform in a critical test. I rate him, big him up.
yeah. Nah, fairs, man. Absolutely, he deserves that. But yeah, I think overall, to finish on like India's sort of selections going forward, it's kind of going to turn to what England traditionally do more, where they have loads of options. They kind of always chop and change, which is what England have always done. Whereas India have normally just had like 5 or 6 names that are always in, and they're sort of
Yeah,
legends
yeah.
and whatever. But because the team's a lot younger, there's a lot more chopping and changing. What did you think of England? Who like really impressed you? Let's just end with their squads and how they're going to be looking before the Ashes. What did you think?
So the way I see it is Crawley and Duckett. I feel like
Yeah,
Crawley is just one of those ones where he gets going, he gets going.
yeah,
Sometimes he just has a bit of a low score. But I think you're not really going to change it because when it does work, it does work. And
completely
then with the
agree.
pairing of Ben Duckett,
Completely agree.
with the pairing of Ben Duckett, as I talked about earlier, the short and tall, and obviously left and right-handed partnerships, or sorry, yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think it just to be honest, that's gonna stay. I think pretty much I do think like the top five to be honest of England fans basically
yeah, yeah.
stay. I don't know,
Pope
what do you
at
think? I think it's
3,
pretty
Root
solid.
obviously at 4, Brook at 5, and obviously Stokes at 6. I mean, that's top 6 is pretty much
Yeah,
solidified,
exactly.
really.
Top six. I think it's more their bowling, which
Yeah,
people have touched on.
yeah.
Obviously, you've got legends retiring like Broad,
Of
Anderson.
course, yeah.
You've got
Mark
you've got
Wood
you've
didn't
got
even play this
bowlers that
series,
perform very
right?
well though.
So Mark Wood's
Yeah,
definitely going to be in
exactly.
for Australia. I'm pretty sure they're resting him for that. You've got Archer who's back now, and he played amazingly. We didn't even touch on him, man. Like he came back like he'd not been gone for
Yeah,
5 years. But
yeah, yeah.
yeah, literally just clearly shows like he is one of the best.
And
He's the
then
injury plagued
and then you've
player.
got and all the others I think did
Yeah,
really well.
Atkinson,
You've touched on
Overton,
Atkinson, Cars,
Cast, of course.
Josh.
I think the only question is
Yeah,
the spinner. So Shoaib Bashir obviously started, and he got spanked around a little bit, but again, he's been one that's been thrown into the deep end completely
of
because
course, of course.
flat decks against the Indians who and he's an off spinner. I mean, that most Indian teams are right-handed, and they literally practice hitting
Yeah,
that all day. So I think they just sort of loved it, but I really like that England did back him initially, and I think I genuinely see a lot of potential
yeah,
there
for sure,
because
man.
even
And he
Ponting
did
was
take
saying
wickets. Like
he,
I
he
know he
did,
got
he
tonked
did
about a little bit, but he did take wickets. So we'll
exactly.
give him. There's some
He
positives
you know
to
he's
it,
got a high
especially that he's back
average.
to the
He's
deep
got
end.
he's got a high average in a series where th- this series had the most number of centuries in any Test series in history. So there were runs going about.
Oh
Yeah.
wow, was it?
2100s in
No, I
this
did not
series.
know
I literally saw that before we started recording. Hopefully it's true.
that. Oh, see?
but either way, it's definitely up there. 2100s, which is true, is like ridiculous. India got 4 in like one test. So there were a lot of runs going, and I don't think you can judge him fully, especially at the age of like 20, 21, when he's got that sort of high release. He needs to work on like getting a bit more drift maybe, but he's still not done like the hard yards that English spinners normally have to do. Like Jack Leach had to bowl thousands and thousands of deliveries in first class cricket before he just solidified his plays for like a few years. But the fact that
Yeah,
Bashir's in the conversation so young, I do think means that like he's got potential for a long career in England. And Ricky Ponting said that if he was to bring a spinner, he'd bring Bashir. And loads of people are trolling, saying, "Oh, he just wants the Aussies to have a good time." No, I don't see Ricky as one that like jokes about too much when it comes to things like that, to be honest. But he said like he sees the biggest similarities to anyone in the world to Nathan Lyon with Bashir. And he's even got more height, which is an advantage on a pitch that might not be doing as much because you've got more bounce to work with. So I think they should back him. I think Dawson, I think he's a good player, but he's too old to like be considered for a long time. And he had his go kind of like the way Bashir is having now 8-9 years ago when like Alistair Cook brought him in. So, you know, he's good to have to be able to call up, but I don't think they can rely on him long term. But yeah, I think that's pretty much that really, like the bowlers that we spoke about. I think the only contention was the offie, which, you know, Bashir impressed, but England are going to go into the Ashes with a relatively stable squad, and they'll seem, I think they seem pretty confident. I think they're quite happy with themselves, even if they didn't win at home. Aussies are already all over it, to be fair.
Yeah.
And there was like, oh.
Yeah, no, well, that's if they couldn't beat India at home, how are they going to beat us away? Yeah, I did.
Aussies haven't beaten India. Well, they did in the most recent, but Aussies hadn't beaten India at home for 6 years prior to just this last one. So nothing to sort of. There's no shame in that at all. Yeah, even if Australia have currently won.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, I think that's pretty. Unless there's anything else, I reckon that's a really good point to end it.
Nah, bro. Yeah, it's just overall, it was just absolutely just what a watch, man.
Yeah.
Like it's just so sick. Honestly, I'm so happy. Like it's like the crowds, the storyline, the resilience, the grit, the not taking catches, the bowling. I just thought it was fantastic.
What series! I'm glad that like it's been so good this time round because it had been a while since I'd like really got stuck into a test series. I think the last one I was going to was the India one in Australia, where obviously India lost 3-1, but this one sort of really brought me back in because it was like so competitively fought, and obviously they drew, which meant that they were as good as each other. So yeah, cool. Let's call it there, bro.
Yeah, man.
Make sure to like,
thank
subscribe.
You so much, guys, for listening.
But yeah, we'll see you in the next one.